Welcome to the Free Spirit Woman podcast. I'm Rechelle, your host and intuitive truth teller and doTERRA leader in the Free Spirit Oil tribe. Join me and my inspiring guests as we share stories, weave magic, and give intuitive insight into what it takes to be a free spirit woman. Courageously growing your oil business, turning your fear of network marketing into your fuel, and unleash your magic to the world unapologetically. Let's do it! Wow, what a treat we have for you today, Free Spirit listeners. I got to interview Frou Williams from Deaf by Lycra. We met over in Bali and we done our coaching when we were doing our graduation for our life coaching course through Beautiful You Life Coaching Academy. So let me tell you a little bit about Frou. Frou is an internationally certified life and wellness coach. Her work is about awakening the mind, body and soul of the modern day soul warrior and soulpreneur. She guides mentors and coaches and personally cheerleads soul warriors as they begin the best and most rewarding conversation of their life, the conversation they have with themselves. She believes that coaches are no longer being called to deliver a neatly packaged solution for a one-size-fits-all market, but to work more deeply, soulfully and collaboratively and create space and connection to better enable clients to come home to themselves. It's an absolute cracker, this interview, so I really hope you enjoy it. Good luck. Hello, Frou.
Hi.
Welcome, my love. Oh, my God.
I am so excited for this interview, seriously. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited to ask these questions to you, Frou, today. Oh, my Lordy. I'm very excited. And I want to tell everybody today, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is my first ever live video on the YouTube channel. So
YouTube fan.
Frou is my first ever one to do it on the YouTube channel. So thanks, Frou, for letting me do a video on the YouTube channel as well. I really appreciate it. Let's start the Free Spirit TV.
Yeah, I love that.
So shall we just get straight into it, Frou?
Let's dive right in.
All right, let's dive right in. Well, the first question is, it's a very basic question, Frou, is what is a free spirit woman to you and your world, your business?
Yeah. So a free spirit woman to me is someone who unapologetically believes in her unique gift and soul purpose that she's sharing with the world. And it might not always be something that she sees every day, but it's something that she commits to showing up every day in small ways, small steps, and moving through the fear and the obstacles to ultimately charter her own path.
Yeah, I love that. And so this is just another extension of that. I mean, I know we're always growing every single day, Frou, right? We're always going through our things, our lows, our highs, wins, our challenges. But would you say you're in the mix of things right now, or are you growing into her, or are you sort of been there, now you're going through some other parts of that free spirit woman?
Like you said, it's an ever-evolving piece, right? And I definitely say I'm in that. Perhaps it's like the different layers of becoming and the different layers of self as we like shed those layers and, you know, I said, move through the fears and obstacles. So definitely feel like especially this year, and I've spoken to a lot of friends who are in similar businesses, and something I know that you and I have spoken about tons before is that this year has really been a year of shedding in so many different ways. And through that obviously become fear and challenges and obstacles and pain and growth and uncertainty and just a lot of like often ickiness. I think that's a huge part of being a free spirit woman, because ultimately in order to enjoy that really sweet freedom that we're craving, you can't have that without the other stuff as well. And it's a beautiful balance of both. And I think you get to a point where now I don't see that as like, oh shit, what now? What more? What are you giving me now? What are the lessons? It's kind of like being a bit more curious about it and like, now? Okay, cool. Right. Well, what have I got to do now to move through it? Rather than, I think when you first travel down that free spirit woman path, it can be like, why me? Fuck's sake.
Yep, exactly. Yes, it does. And the Free Spirit Woman brand, I helped create, well, I am the brand. I created that brand because of my own stuff and going through the stuff and up-leveling and losing and challenges myself. So, and it is about showing up every day, you know, and I always say to myself, well, how could you be sharing this message if you yourself is still going through the challenges? And it's interesting, people like you and all the other girls that I've interviewed on the podcast, they all say the same thing. We're always evolving and going through.
Yeah, you're never not going through stuff, because even when we're 90, we'll still be facing things, because that's what it is to be human. And I think there are a lot of self-help books and advice out there from people who kind of try and squish that belief that we should be getting rid of our mean girls and chimps and we should be quietening them. It's not. It's about inviting them to the table and working together and, like you said, working with those ebbs and flows, and as you continually grow to know yourself, not just like everything else that's happening in life.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, okay, so I'll jump to the next question. So I was just about to ask something, but I literally forgot, but that's fine, Rechelle. I get sidetracked in the listening and then I forget what I was going to ask.
Maybe it'll come back to you.
It'll come back to me. All right. So I know you just did briefly talk about that, but you said it is about living unapologetically, and I talk a lot about that in my message. So I know you hear this a lot because we've talked about this a lot in the past. Living unapologetically, I struggle all the time still. It is a battle. For me, I call it a battlefield because you question that you don't want to hurt people in being unapologetic. Like you want to say that or you want to do that and you don't want to be apologetic about it because that's your wishes. And I'm saying this with absolute love. But how do you not living unapologetically? Like, what is your key tips around that? I mean, I know it's a process and I know we evolve, but what has been something for you that's really been something that you know has been your strength in being unapologetic?
I think, like you said, it's such a hard piece. It's a continual, it's not just a trick that you learn and then you tick off the list, right? It's a continual refinement every day. But for me personally, the biggest obstacle that I've had to learn with that unapologetic way of living is boundaries, and having healthy boundaries, not to keep people out, but to lovingly show them how this is how I show up in the world, and also showing them how they can show up in the world as well, because there's that domino effect that I'm sure we've all seen in our friends and family's lives. By taking the path less traveled, we are allowing them the space to maybe do the same. So I'll continually come back to my truth and obviously asking myself things like, how does this situation or this person make me feel? And having that awareness, I think the awareness piece is the most important step, because that's how you can change your reactions.
Yeah.
The unapologetic nature, I think as well for me, where when I first started practicing that, because I'd never done that before, a lot of the people in my life were like, oh, no, go back into your box that we've neatly assigned you from 30 years of life. Get back in your box. Comfortable for us, for you there. Well, actually, you're like, no, I don't want to be in this box anymore. I'm making my own. I want to be in a circle. Maybe I want to be in a triangle. I don't want to be in a box anymore. Just take me out of the box. Yeah. And it's just that continual taking yourself out of there and coming back to yourself. And that's where that whole sort of like inner strength comes in to play, because without that inner strength and self-love and strength of conviction that you have in yourself, you'll just end up not living. And that's what we do. It's the dance, isn't it? It's that I know this is what I need to do to be unapologetic, but these are the people in my life and I don't want to hurt them or seem like I'm an arsehole, really.
Yeah. And so how did you give me a couple of core things there? When you're surrounded by people that want you to be in that box, how do you pull yourself from that box that they want you to live? Because that's the way they live their life. Because I've noticed a lot of this in my world too. It's interesting. I always believe we mirror. Whenever I do this, it's like, yes, I hear you. So might be family and best friends, and we were a certain way with them because we love them, and we usually attract to people that we like, that we got things in common. But then you start to evolve and you change, but the other people aren't. They're in that box still. How do you remove yourself from that? Or do you still just keep going about your way?
Yeah, I think it's a dance between allowing that person to show up who they are, exactly where they are, as how they are. And that can be a really painful piece, right? Because you can see someone, whether it's family or friends, and know that the way that they're living is not for their highest good. And you can want to shake them, but ultimately you've changed and somebody hasn't. Or even if you haven't changed, but you can still see that someone else would benefit from living in a different way or making changes in their life, or whatever it is, whether it's health or lifestyle changes. Ultimately, it's about radical self-responsibility and practicing non-attachment to those situations. So you can love someone and want the best for them, but know ultimately whatever you do or whatever you say, you can lovingly pass on your beliefs, but they have to take that and change themselves. And that's the acceptance piece. So for me, I will always come back to what I believe in, and I will always share that with my friends and my family without being like oh, I know what's best for you. Because ultimately we don't know what's best for other people. We can have a feeling that we think, I just have this feeling that this is what, maybe this is the right path for you. But ultimately, I'm just going on my feeling. Like my gut feeling isn't necessarily going to be what's right for you. So it's coming back and practicing that non-attachment and letting go is a huge part of it, I think, in being okay with the situation as it is. And there's this whole thing around, you talked about mirrors, and there's a lot of theories around we choose our friends and our families for the soul lessons. And as more and more time goes on, I'm like, did I choose this?
I know I don't. Some parts I agree with that, some parts I don't. But then I know that it is, I think when we're not fully in agreement with certain people in our life, it's probably because we haven't wanted to face that part of the mirror. Or that's what I
disown parts of ourselves.
Yeah, do you really want to face that part of you yet? And that's fine too as well. I think with the Free Spirit Woman or living unapologetically, it's when you're ready. It's when you're ready to be all those things or see all those things too, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like you said, it's on that ebb and the flow of that journey, and you'll be ready to see and move through those pieces as and when you're moving through different things yourself, just to trust that's happening at the right time for the right reason.
Exactly. Love that. And what about, just as you're speaking then, through boundaries? You mentioned boundaries with living unapologetic, not for, how do you set boundaries with people or things, just things in general?
Yeah, I am not somebody who has grown up with any boundaries, or I find setting boundaries incredibly hard. And I know it's definitely one of those soul lessons for me that I am here to not master, but to certainly cultivate daily into my life. I found creating rituals and even ceremonies actually really help with setting my own boundaries for myself. And it's been more a case of, as I said, not shutting people out and not being like, here are the T's and C's for if you want to be my friend or if you want to date me or whatever. It's not like that, but it's more just a unwavering feeling that I have in myself. So the more I practice self-love and the more I practice kindness with myself and the more I practice knowing myself. And that happens through the rituals and the ceremonies and creating habits as well. So having even just that routine of going to the gym, for example, that is something that helps me set boundaries, because the more we show up for ourselves, the harder it is for ourselves to feel bad about certain things. And yes, there may be things that we still want to change, but on the whole, we're way more content and able to show everyone in our world who we are. And that is obviously a form of boundaries just through our own work. And I truly wish when I'd first started on my spiritual journey or my journey of becoming all those years ago, that somebody had said to me, stop seeking out. Like, you have to go in, because that's the only way you can get the answers.
Yep. I don't think people know how to but express that. No. Don't you think, like my mum and my father, our generation, that it's taught to not go inward because it's uncomfortable, it's the feelings, and do I really want to feel what that feels like? But I know what you're saying, the inner work could be a lot different to that. But then there's also to the inner work of, I don't know about you, but not wanting to feel into that when we do work on ourselves, that we're going to feel those things where we're at. Yeah. Sorry, go.
So, no, I was just going to say, I also think like popular culture has kind of fashionized meditation and these, yoga and all those things, which are like gateway tools for us. And that's all they are, is a tool for us to tap into that inner self, and not everything will work. So meditation isn't going to work for everyone, but it's finding that little toolkit that does work for you. And it may be that a walk outside in nature, walking the dog, or it may be reading a book, whatever the gateway is that gives you that sense of presentness, groundedness, and connectedness to yourself. That's the main point of it. I remember when I went to like a first like yoga class, and everyone was like, we're just going to ground in, we're just going to drop in. I was like, where am I dropping? How do I ground? What are we doing? I don't understand. Like, you don't understand? So I think people need to make it more accessible for other people.
Yeah, and it can be quite daunting and scary when people have got to go, I hear women say, I don't like all that feeling. But I think too, I don't know whether you agree with this, but a lot of people that I know that haven't done the inner work or done the feel work, or the soul, if you want to call it, or the internal work, right, the self-love work.
Yeah.
They think they have to figure it out. I know for me, when I do the inner work, I don't got to figure nothing out. I just got to be aware of it.
Yeah, it just happens, and it's,
So you go in, you do the inner work, like you said, meditation, do yoga, whatever you're doing. When you start to develop your spirituality or your spiritual self, or, your soul, whatever you want to call it, you don't have to know all the pieces or know all the answers, do you? You just don't. You just let it do its thing. And I find 2 days later, that's when things come in. People want to know it straight away. They want to feel it straight away. It's like it may not come.
Yeah, because you have to integrate it, right? And I think the way that we're taught to now in our society is that we need to buy a ticket like inwards, and it's not like that. It's not like a one-way ticket where you're going to go and there's a plan and you can set an itinerary. Like, you can't plan that shit. Like, it happens when it's meant to happen. And I think, like you said, having that awareness and just continuing about like doing the things that you do that light you up. And it may be that the things that light you up, that's part of your inner work. It may be that running every day or whatever it is, whether you like baking or whatever it is, that's part of your soul work because you enjoy it. You're kind of like, well, I'm just doing it as a hobby or enjoy it. And we don't connect the dots between actually that's your sacred time. Totally. And that is going inward, but we just don't see it as that. We see it as this like glorified, let's go in on inner journey and feel all the pain and go and stay in an ashram and, you know, all that kind of stuff, which is just unattainable for most people.
It is. And sometimes it becomes a chore for people too. No one wants more chores and more tasks, and we all live busy lives. So it's like, but like you said, it's what people want to do. It's what you love doing. It's what really floats your boat, I suppose, if that's what you want to say, floats your boat. All right, the next one. So what about some awesome daily practices, spiritual practices, Frou, that you do, like that's really, you know, helped you? Maybe someone could get a great idea from you.
Yeah. So I believe, following on from what we were just talking about, that spirituality should be accessible to everyone, and there should be a meeting point for everyone to have something for themselves. So that for me, it can be something as simple as like my daily ritual of a hug in a mug cup of coffee. It can be something like listening to meditones or a meditation track on Insight Timer, or going for a walk in nature. A huge thing for me, and it's a huge part of my work, is around being in the body. Especially as women, we are often all up here and here, and we're not in here. And so it's about movement. I'm not saying like every day I'm like smashing my body, but it's about maybe I'll go in for a walk in nature, or maybe I'll just go and sit on a park bench, or sometimes I'll lift weights, or sometimes I'll go to yoga. Whatever it is, it's feeling into that space and moving my body so that I can come back into my body to ultimately feel present and connected to the universe and to myself. And that I feel like is one of nature is a massive part of my spiritual toolkit.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people can relate to that as well, because there's a lot of things around sort of spirituality which is really woo woo. And you know, for me, like as you know, like when we first met, I was so anti-oracle cards, I was anti-crystals, I was like, I don't want any of that stuff, it's all bullshit. And now like it's become more and more into my life. And I think that's because I've become more comfortable with it all. It's finding, like I said, the things that help you to enjoy being in your body.
And the thing is, we change. Like I've changed heaps with like oracle cards and crystals and stuff. I used to do a lot more work with them, and I go through stages where I'm all in them and then I'm not, you know. It's depending on what you need at the time too. Sometimes I walk a lot more, like out in nature. Lately it's been connected with the dogs, which I never used to be a dog person. I just want to share that with the listeners well, I've always loved dogs, but I've never really felt the love that people talk about with animals. And it's quite interesting, and I'll just share this if you're okay with that, even though I'm interviewing you, Frou, is I can feel now when people talk about animals, how do they get that thing with these animals, right? I was never, like I love animals, but I was never connected to animals. And now I can understand it. It's like a place you go. It's like an unconditional, real, they can feel you. Like if I'm upset or I'm angry, we've got two little foxies, they can feel it. And they actually tell you when you're upset, when you're not right, because you can sense their sense, like their body language. It's really weird. So why I'm sharing that is because we do, and I always say spirituality is your spirituality. It's whatever it is for you. And so I've changed in a whole, like someone that knew me 20 years ago, so Rechelle, you've never been into dogs. Like seriously? Yeah, that's true. I have dogs in my house now that sleep in my home. Like if one of they say the haters are usually your best fans, if one of my haters listen now, they're like, what? We have dogs and a cat and they live in our home. Like
I love that.
And I think because I've needed it too, because I've grown the last 12 months. So that's what I'm saying. We evolve and things come in our world to support us what we need the most.
Absolutely. And I also think there's a journey of acceptance around the type of people that we are throughout our life. We're never going to be, the amount of work that we all do on ourselves, we're never going to be, the person that you are at 20 is not going to be the person you are at 40 and the same person you are at 70. It would be so sad if you were the same person and you had the same views and like you did the same thing. It's so beautiful that you have an open mind and that you can go, do you know what didn't feel right then feels right now, and I'm owning it. And I think as long as you have the conviction to say, yeah, like it's like now we feel like oracle cards and stuff, I'm still not like fully like here's all my sets, but all the sets I have are quite funny ones. So I feel like for me that's a really beautiful gateway to be like, I love, and I can see the sentiment behind an oracle card, but I equally am still doing something that's comfortable for me at this point, and that may change, it probably will change, but it's going, I'm okay with that. It's like you with your dogs. There. Next interview, you'll be there with your dogs.
Even when I first got the dogs, like my girlfriends would say, I can't believe you can let them sleep in the house. I'm like, you're telling me. I don't know whether they've waved a wand over me or what they've done, but something's changed within me. And actually, just as I was saying all that to you, what come through me just then was, I don't know whether you might be able to say something around this too, so I'll just bear with me, is, and I didn't intend to bring this up in this conversation, but I love when that happens, to be honest, is choices, you know, say 10 years ago, Frou, I don't know, how old are you, Frou? Are you in your 30s? You're in your 30s, right? So, I'm 41, right? So 10 years ago, sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but 10 years ago, I would never have made choices or decisions that I do now, mate. They're very different. To me, that is a spiritual practice too, because, well, I know for me, I used to always worry about what people's opinions were and my choices around theirs based on serving them first before myself. So a spiritual practice to me also too is about making decisions, not just about things and places and feelings. It is being spiritual to yourself. And do you relate to that in any way?
100%, yeah. And I agree with you on the whole evolution of letting go of that narrative around what other people think, and also that spiritual practice for ourselves. Like you said, it's lovely that it's not just things or people or feelings, thoughts inside, and that practice that you cultivate on your own awareness. And it's beautiful. And I often think it's really lovely to think that, well, this is how I feel now, like how will I feel in 10 years and how will I feel in 20, 30 years? And that's really exciting.
It is. Interesting. That was a good one. I like that one. Okay, I'm just looking over my questions over to the right, but looking at the camera. Okay, intuition now. This is my favourite topic. So intuition to you, what is? It might just be, what is intuition to you, or how do you know that it's your intuition speaking? Because I do love that question too as well, Frou, is because I do hear this a lot, especially when I was doing more readings back, 12 months ago. I was doing a lot more readings, and over the years, and I've stopped doing them a lot of late. But how do you know that that's your intuition? How do you know that that's speaking? I know everybody's different, but I'm interested in your take on it.
So for me, intuition is that sort of instinctive feeling that it doesn't always have like conscious reasoning to it, but that as often as everyone calls it, that gut feeling. And I guess like how I differentiate that, because often I think we can confuse fear with intuition. And, if we've never been taught to trust our intuition or to even like that intuition muscle, like how would you know how to listen to it or to cultivate it or to trust it? So for me, fear feels frantic and aggressive, whereas I know when it's my intuition because it feels aligned and it feels centered and it feels really subtle. And that's how I differentiate between like, is this a place of fear or is this my intuition? Is this a deeper knowing? And I always, every time I have that feeling, it is never wrong, ever.
It never is. And I'll just elaborate one thing. I think we've had this conversation before. I always believe the heart is different to the intuition. A lot of people say, and this is just everybody's different. There's no right, wrong. And I don't ever think someone knows it more than the other. I'm not here to judge other people because everyone feels things differently. But for me, I always say that your intuition knows and doesn't doubt. So it's very clear on the thought, it knows. Whereas heart can doubt and heart can lead us wrong decisions. Whereas your gut will be that one that you'll go, no way. Like, well, I know for me, you'll hear it and you know there's no doubt in it. You've got the message really clear. There's no doubt in your mind what it's telling you. When I start to doubt my intuition, it's not my intuition speaking, it's my heart. Yeah. So I always talk about the three, and I've never shared this on my podcast or mine or the YouTube ever before, but I think your mind does all different things, as you know. It's your ego and all the different thoughts. We can have 1,000,000 billion thoughts. Your heart can lead you astray, good and bad.
She often does.
And sorry about that big laugh. Oh, well, they know me from the big laugh. Your gut, like you said, they're real soft. It's soft. It knows, and it certainly does not doubt, and you can feel it.
Definitely.
And then usually the heart or the head starts to question the gut. And you're like, no. So I always say if you're doubting, that isn't your gut. because your gut will make it so clear to you, and it'll make it happen in your life, whether it'll make it physical in your body. I'm a big believer in that too as well. So if you're not listening to your gut or listening to your inner self or your spirit or your soul, it'll make things change in life really dramatically until you fucking do.
100%.
That's what's happened to me.
Yeah, and for me too as well. I mean, even with that sort of manifestation of like even illness in the body, when I was working in corporate and I felt like I had to stay in corporate because that's what you do. And everyone in my family and my friends, my entire world were, that's what you do. So you stay on the rat race and you climb and that's life. That's what you do. And I had this feeling in my body that it wasn't right. And I felt caged. I felt trapped, and I ignored it. And eventually my body was like, you're not listening. So we're going to make you stop. And I got really, really sick. And it was only when I stopped, the illness went away. It's so powerful.
Because you had to listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that one. So anyone that's listening to this, if anything happens to you physical in your body, it's usually something that's trying to tell you. And I reckon your intuition usually comes around that time, or it's just something you just want to put the blinkers on, as they say, put it under the carpet, or you don't want to deal with it. But if you keep feeling that same feeling, it's coming up over and over again.
Definitely. And that's actually the first thing I do with clients, is to look at the bodily symptoms of what they're moving through and what they're going through. Because quite often, like we said, the symptoms will manifest of the mind in the body, and the body just speaks different language to that of the mind. The body doesn't speak in words, it speaks in metaphor.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got to create some stuff around that, because whenever I share that with friends or I share it on the podcast, people want to know more about it. So I must delve into that a little bit more. Understand the different, and not everyone's going to relate to it, but some people may and go, you know what, I get that. Because I do believe there is three. I know a lot of people don't say that. They say that that's the heart and the gut. But I always talk about the three different voices. There is three different voices.
Definitely. I think people would really benefit from you sharing that.
Thank you. I love this one. So turning your self-doubt into your greatest power. So you got to make some big choices in your life, big changes or choices. And you got a lot of doubt. It could be because around money or because you're going to upset your family. How do you then turn that into power?
Yeah. So I think this is a huge one for me, because it's something I feel, especially with the path that I'm on, and I know with you and the other women in and around the sort of coaching community, we grow and we evolve at such rapid rates. There's a constant like unsettlement and moving in and out of that space, becoming very familiar with that sort of ebbing and flowing, as we call it. So for me, regain that power to move through from a place of self-doubt and fear. The biggest thing for me is that coming back to my body. It's a huge thing around movement. And as I said before, it's not necessarily like movement in a traditional sense. It can be going for a walk. It can be moving the energy around. So it could be a cup of tea with a friend. It could be taking the time to make a nice meal, whatever it is. It's just shifting the energy from energy stagnates in our cells, and that's when we can have inflammation in the body, and to get that energy out of my body. So it's that constant flowing of life. So I'll come back to myself, continually ask myself, what is it that I want from my life? What is my greater vision? What am I trying to build? And what is my intuition telling me? The biggest thing as well is the act of kindness. I've noticed is without that kindness piece in place, when you're moving through transition and uncertainty, it just makes the whole thing so much harder. But if you can be kind to yourself, whether that's changing those thoughts, because we all have those negative thoughts, and actually even just having the awareness around those negative thoughts, because it's amazing how many negative thoughts we have on an hourly basis, or how many thoughts you have every second, noticing how many of those are actually negative, and trying to replace those thoughts with more positive ones or even more neutral ones, because whatever those thoughts are, your body is taking those on and as gospel, right? And you having that act of kindness for yourself makes the transition and moving through, because we will always continually, that's life, we will always have to move through things. You can't change that. But how you respond to that change is, I think, how we gain or step into our power.
It isn't easy, is it, stepping into your power? Like, it's like anything in life, you've just got to, I always say, you've just got to do it. But then, like you're saying, supporting yourself and going through all those things. But at the end of the day, it is just about making those new choices and stepping through that. Even though you've got that self-doubt or the fear, you still got to make that choice. And when you make that choice, then I think the power is seen after you make the choice. We don't think we're in the power until we've achieved it or we've done it.
Yeah.
Or we've went through the pain, and we can really see how powerful we were because we chose to do it. And I do all those things too. And there's times that, I don't know about you, but sometimes it'll take years or months or weeks to move through that and get to that other side where you can just go, that's it, I've got to do this.
Definitely. And it's only you will know when that is, and you'll just have that, something will drop and you'll go, I'm ready now, or it's time, or something shifts and it's no longer the fear or something that's holding you back. And often that whole thing around fear is we need a certain level of fear to actually help us take action. Obviously not too much fear to be in a constant state of fight or flight response, but sometimes fear is the good thing because it means we care and it means that what we're doing matters. Yep. So that's also a different way of looking at it.
You growing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's you growing, isn't it? Don't you reckon? Like all the biggest fear that I've had in my life is me growing. But that was great. So thank you. So the last question, then we'll get into the little questions. That's good because we're getting in a beautiful flow here, Frou. Beautiful. What has been your biggest turning point in your life, like in your business world, where I believe a lot of entrepreneurs and women that are trying to build their own business or get out into the world and follow their hearts and do what they love. So what would be a turning point for you?
Yeah, so I think in its most simplistic form is probably just saying yes to myself, and that's making the decision to back myself. And that's not a huge push, going hard every day. It's thinking of my long-term vision, and it may be that little thing I do each and every day. It may be that on that day I need to rest and I honor myself to say, today I need to take it easy. And that's the saying yes. It's not the saying yes and spamming everyone and doing loads of email marketing and then being everyone, this is my message, listen to me. Thinking about the longer vision and coming at it from a place of we're in this for the long run. We're not sprinting. It's we're in the marathon here. We're taking it easy. And you know that in order to say yes and look after yourself each and every day, it will require you to look after yourself. And I think having that level of letting go of the things I should be doing has really helped me just to move through that.
Saying yes, I love that. Yeah. And learning to say no. I love that. Probably a whole other podcast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. There's another one. That just gives us a reason to do another one. All right. I knew they were going to be from you. So let's talk about you, little quickies. Cool.
Okay.
So what do people know about you, Frou?
Oh, all the things. No. So I am a huge advocate of travel. Travel is the love of my life, and I always encourage anyone and everyone to travel as much as possible and open their eyes, change their perspective. And some of the random things that I've done are I trekked in the Sahara Desert, which was very cool. And I did a season in the Mediterranean working on yachts, looking after billionaires. So that was a whole other experience completely. But yeah, just meeting so many different people from all walks of life has kind of culminated in this massive, wonderful life experience. So I always encourage people to do that.
Love it. One thing I've never done, I would love to do one day. Husband says no. I'll take my daughters.
And the dogs, apparently.
All right. So favourite essential oil right now?
I'm still very new to the world of essential oils, as you know. I think my favourite oil is, I really love the Hope doTERRA blend, which I think is really, really beautiful. It's subtle. Anything sort of vanilla-y, I just love. I also really like Passion because I feel like it gives you that kind of bit more fiery, it's a bit more spicy. Those two probably, and I've definitely been using them as perfumes. So
I haven't been doing Hope, actually. I need to buy some more of that one. Yeah, that Hope is a beautiful oil. Very soft, isn't it? Very feminine.
Yeah, lovely.
Favourite book right now? I know you're a big book lover, and you can share too if you want to just tell everybody about the thing that you and Joe run, if you want to tell them.
Yeah, shameless plug. I run a little book club with Joe Kendall called Sacred Book Club. Yep. And it's kind of a no book club where we don't do a monthly book club, but we basically share as we go, because we feel like the aha moments happen when you're reading the book and you don't necessarily want to wait until the end of the month to share those things, because quite often you've moved on to the next thing and you're like, what did I say at that time? What did I think? So it's to encourage people to share in the now. My favorite books for right now.
What would be your favourite book in what's been a book that's actually been a turning point? You got that book that just made you see things very differently.
Yeah, there's so many. But I love, for me, when I first started out down that rabbit hole, was The Road Less Travelled by Scott Peck. It's very much a really great introductory kind of looking at things from a different perspective. There's a psychological spin on it. So there's a lot of like, for me, I'm really interested in, I love the woo-woo stuff, but I also like the fact and the science as well. So I felt like that was a really good introductory book. Anything by Elizabeth Gilbert, like Big Magic, or that was a really sort of guilty pleasure read, kind of like lying on a sun lounger. I've got some really amazing like vibes from it. But for anyone who's like looking for something with a little bit more depth, I'd say probably Shadow Dance by David Rechelle. It's a really beautiful book, and it shows us how we needn't fear our shadow self or the sides of ourselves that we've abandoned or disowned. And it's really about how to work with that side of ourselves without fear or shame.
Right. I've never heard of those books. I'll have to. Yeah. Interesting. Thank you. The Sacred Book Club is on Facebook group. Yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Favorite podcast? Do you do podcasts, or are you doing?
I love podcasts. Actually, podcasts are a huge one, because I was literally looking the other day for a new subscription. Yeah. I realized how much like sound and people's voices really speak to me.
Yes.
Obviously, that sounds like a really dumb thing to say, but I have to connect to that person's voice. And my favorite one is definitely Lewis Howes, The School of Greatness. Oh, yeah. He's just amazing. And the fact he's really sexy as well really helps.
I may not say that on here, but yes, 100%.
Like, we can edit that out. It's fine. No, I just love, he's really real. And he also,
I love his message.
Really great people on the podcast. And he also, he just makes it attainable. He makes you feel like you can do the same. Chase your dreams. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So nice, because quite often I feel like people assume this like guru, you're just here kind of status. He makes me feel like it's a collaboration, and he's on the same page as you.
I love that. Yeah, I love him. Yeah, he's really good. I watch his stuff all the time. I love his stories on Instagram. I love all the real life stuff. Okay, what can't you live without?
What can't I live without? Oh.
What can't you live without?
The quest for knowledge. Oh, my books.
Oh, no. That's my problem.
I have such a strong feeling that I didn't choose this life, and that it's folding out into something bigger and better and more beautiful. And the quest for knowledge, it's not a choice. It's like a pull. And I can't necessarily always explain it, but I wouldn't know how to live from any other place.
I love that.
What about you?
Yeah, mine's definitely, I love to learn. I'm an information junkie. Like, I've got to be, if I'm not learning, sometimes I think to myself, can you just not worry about learning anymore? Like,
yes.
I have everybody say to me, can't you just stop? No, I actually feel bored when I'm not learning. Yeah. I've got to always be evolving and trying and playing and swaying. And
definitely swaying, you're doing the dance. I love it. I actually have this joke with some friends where it's like, so I just wish that I was just like happy with like, just sometimes not, I don't obviously wish because I love my life, but like how funny it would be as if like we're just happy with our old selves, like 10 years ago self, where all we wanted was just to go out on a Friday night and get drunk and like worry about what dress we were going to wear. I was like, those were far simpler times.
Oh, I still get drunk.
Oh yeah, me too. But like, I just mean in terms of like,
I know what you mean. That was all you were sort of worried about.
Yeah, absolutely. The quest for knowledge was very different kind of knowledge.
Definitely.
I was like, where are my Jaeger bombs coming from? Whereas now it's like, so the universe and all about Mother Earth and how can we make a difference and how does it feel? And yeah, all that stuff.
Oh God, quest for knowledge. Oh my God. All right, last question. Who inspires you right now? Or what inspires you, or who inspires you right now?
So,
they want to share where they're at too as well, because people, you've got a lot of little tricks in your bag.
I'm not sure about that. But to be honest, it's not a person. It's a collection. It's a collective. It's local. It's not me fangirling anyone, but it's the beautiful women in my life that I feel like the last few years I've been so lucky to build a community, and I'm still building that community of women who are in the trenches with me every single day. And they're the women that have a glass of wine with me, but they'll also call me on my shit, and they'll also be there when I'm having those moments of self-doubt or lack of clarity. They're the women that I can call and they call me, and we have that unwavering like trust and strength in each other that helps you know that despite whatever else is going on and whoever else in our lives, friends, family, otherwise, are not maybe always understanding of our journey, we have for each other. And I think that is so important, who we surround ourselves with. And for me, it's been that evolution of growing that and building that beautiful tribe. And it's a collective of beautiful energy that I'm fangirling.
I love that. That's really nice. That's it for our questions. Now
Yay!
you get to share how our listeners can find you and if you have anything, if they sign up onto your mailing list, Frou, like how can they find you and what's the best way, like to get to know you and what you do and so forth? Your minute of beautifulness, love. Go for it.
No pressure, go. Okay. So find me on my website, which is www.deathbylycra.com. And my Instagram is Frou, which is FROU_deathbylycra. And I've created a survival kit for people because I'm all about the quest, and a lot of my friends joke about the journey of life. So I've created a inner quest for people, and it's a 7-day video series. So if they sign up via my website, they will get access to the 7-day. It's a way to help you learn how to start that journey inward. And there's meditations, there's videos, and there's workbooks. So yeah, this is a really nice way for us to kind of start having a chat and maybe start that beautiful journey in.
Beautiful. I love that. They'll be in the show notes too as well. Like we'll have all the links and everything. So your favourite place is really probably Instagram to start to get to feel you? Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Thought so. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was so lovely.
I've loved today. You're so good. And I know everyone's going to love listening to this. They really are. They won't be pressing the end button on the podcast. They'll be listening to it, right? Even if they've got a cooked tea, they've even got their earplugs on. Thank you, Frou.
Thank you so much, my lovely. Have a beautiful afternoon.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Free Spirit Radio. Your feedback means the absolute world to me and helps me to bring you more guests and topics to support and inspire you. Email me over at love@freespiritwoman.com.au or direct message me on Instagram and Facebook to share your thoughts on this episode. In between episodes, you can also connect with me online at freespiritwoman.com.au. While you're there, please feel free to sign up to my newsletter. Each and every month, I send out a free spirit energy reading where I tune into the energy for the up and coming month and intuitively share steps you can take to become your best and bravest self. So that's all for now. See you next time.